Welcome to your Daily Dose of Theological German. We are on installment number 19, getting close to the end of this book here, The Kingdom of God and Christendom by Albert Schweitzer. So today's sentence says, the saved, and it's referring to sort of the people that are saved from exile in Ezekiel's vision of the future. So the saved ones, you might say, if you wanted to kind of sound, wooden. But anyway, the saved people who... Now, here you have a relative pronoun, and it's referring back here to geretteten, the saved. And so when you have a relative pronoun, that means you have a relative clause, and so you want to go down to the end of the clause to find your verb, because it is a subordinate clause in all cases when a relative pronoun is used. And so go down here where the comma is. That should show you where the end of the clause is. Relative clauses are always offset by commas if the writing is done well. And sure enough, here you have your verb, come. Okay, so the saved who come out of Jerusalem as captives to Babylon are for him. This pronoun here, him, is referring to Ezekiel. So it's talking about, this whole entire section of the book has been talking about how Ezekiel has a bit of a different vision of the future than other prophets. And so that's kind of why you have this little modifying phrase here. For him, for Ezekiel, the saved who come out of Jerusalem as captives to Babylon are a group of chosen ones. This is a participle functioning as an adjective, and it is referring to the individuals who are chosen to be saved. And so the whole point in this entire section of text is that Schweitzer has been saying that Ezekiel doesn't just see Israel as a people being saved, but sees particular people being saved. And so what you have here is not just the people of Israel, but a group of specifically chosen people. That's the context, and that's what's going on here. So it's a pretty straightforward sentence. But it'd be helpful to kind of just look at the structure of it a little bit more, just to kind of remind ourselves about how German sentences get put together. You should always have a subject, a verb, and an object, and the verb should always be in second position. And if the subject is first, then that's fine. Otherwise, the subject would come after. So in this case, we do indeed have a subject, a verb, and an object. So the basic clause structure here is the saved are a group. That's really all that's being said here. But what's the rest of this stuff doing? So I think it's helpful to kind of piece that together, because when you're trying to work on a German sentence, especially if there's multiple clauses, it can be helpful to kind of find the basic structure and at least know what the main sentence is saying, and then you just add everything kind of in appropriate places. And in this case, it's going to get added in English more or less in the same way that it is in German, so it's not too difficult, but it's still helpful to kind of go through the exercise, because sometimes it might be in some random place in the sentence in German, you'll have to put it somewhere else in English, and so being able to pull apart what the different pieces are is the kind of important skill for translation. So anyway, so there you have your three parts. And we can just look at them one at a time and see then how the rest of the sentence connects to one of those three parts in each case. So first you have your subject here. This is in first position in this case, so that's helpful. Next you see this relative clause, and because this is modifying the subject, you can actually just kind of consider that it's all part of the subject on one level. And so then you will next find your verb. And your verb is in second position, which is where verbs are always expected to be. And it's in second position as long as you understand that relative clause to be kind of part of the subject phrase, in a way. So yeah, there you have your verb. But now there's another modifier here. This modifier is modifying the verb. And so that can kind of just get included in the verb component of the sentence. And then you have your object. And this object also is going to be modified here by the phrase von erwählten. And so that can just be included as part of the object. So there you have it, subject, verb, object. It's really very straightforward. It's just a matter of figuring out how everything else in the sentence relates to one of those three pieces. And it always should relate somehow to one of those three pieces. The only exception to that would be if you have multiple main clauses in a sentence. So it could be that you have maybe a contrastive remark or something like that, in which case you might have two clauses of equal status, which then really you're looking at kind of two sentences. And so then you can just handle them independently. But anytime you have one where you just have one main clause with subordinate clauses and other things attached to it, it should all attach to one of those three parts, and you can kind of see how the German word order is preserved in doing that. So, as always, I hope you found that helpful, and I will see you tomorrow. Please do like and subscribe and share with all of your friends.